Hello, everybody. Welcome back to an earlier, early holiday edition of the P-Lot Pod. John here, joined once again by the main man himself, Michael. Uh, Michael, we're doing this show a little earlier than we normally do during the week because it's Ethan's birthday Thursday. We got to celebrate Ethan's birthday Thursday.
It is Ethan's birthday Thursday and nothing else. Um,
Yep, nothing else is happening Thursday.
right. I can't even. Yeah, so with the holidays, with Christmas, very busy time. So here we are on a Monday to discuss some of the big highlights from this weekend, and we have three games to pick on Thursday
Yeah,
as
three
well.
games that
Christmas
everyone
Day.
thought was going to be good, and
Now,
well, they're not.
suck. Yeah, there's maybe one there not maybe, there's only one game with juice, and it's very, very minimal juice. But yeah, so let's get right into it. We can start from Saturday. We can start chronologically, really. The Philadelphia
Yes.
Eagles clinched an NFC East title. It is their back to second straight NFC East title, first time in 21 years in the NFC East. Obviously, I'm sure we have all heard and seen that stat for 21 years, really. In a Philadelphia sport nugget, it is the first time the Phillies and the Eagles have both won the division in back-to-back years at the same time. So that's pretty cool. Something that we should probably think is cool as fans, even if we tend to be frustrated with certain aspects of that stat, but it is still pretty cool. The Eagles, it's a shame they're, a collapse away from having 4 straight division titles at this point. Like, they really should be in a golden era of dominance over the NFC East, the way things are set up for now and the future,
Well, this
really.
also, I think, is Nick Sirianni the first coach in team history to have five straight postseason appearances to start his coaching career with the Eagles.
Yeah, it's impressive. They win a lot, and it's something that can't always be taken for granted, despite how frustrating it can get at times and how it feels like maybe they don't reach their full potential. But all in all, the grass is definitely greener on this side than it is almost anywhere else in the NFL. So definitely should appreciate it while it's here. I've had that thought today of just there will be a time probably, later in our lives where I'm sure the football team is not going to be as good or as well run, and we are going to envy the times that we are currently in. So I want to really appreciate the dominance and the great football that I have been very fortunate to see my entire lifetime, and you've been able to see now for the majority of your lifetime. So really is something cool, and that should be celebrated. So, nice little positive anecdote to get started before we actually talk about the game itself, which at times frustrating, but ultimately
Yeah, I
took
think
care of
I
business.
text. So I text. I would say second straight game offensive efficiency much better than what we've seen before. Obviously, playing two of the worst defensive teams in the NFL, like,
Helps.
helps, but at the same time, when you look at the Eagles' issues on offense, wasn't necessarily playing against great defenses per se, because you think about all the pre-snap penalties, failure to chain together plays that made sense,
Yeah.
drop passes, uh,
Missed throws, all of it. It's
missed throws, like
everyone has had
things.
their
It
moment.
wasn't like affected by necessarily the opposing team putting out a great, like, playing great defensively. Even in the Charger game, we saw glimpses of the offense being efficient in terms of moving the ball.
They
The
shot
prop
themselves in the foot, you
They
know?
shot themselves in the foot. Yes, it was. In other words, what we're talking about is, instead of having seven 3-and-outs in a game, like, they move the ball and were
And had 5
consistent.
turnovers.
Yeah, they were positioned to get points a lot of those times. They just committed heinous turnovers. But I would say the last 2 weeks, Jalen Hurts had one turnover play in the last 2 weeks, and the Eagles' offense as a whole, Michael, went three and out a combined three times.
Which that's good, man. That's really good. The best defenses looked against the Eagles were probably the Packers and the Lions games, and a big fault of that was how predictable they were and their inability to run the ball. You think about all those highlights of the corners just draped all over AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and just no room to breathe on the quick little routes that they just knew were coming. And you're seeing them kind of break out of that shell. They ran a lot of empty against Washington, and we've been clamoring for empty all season. Really, the Eagles film guys on Twitter have really been heavily asking for empty, and they finally really committed to it as like the central passing game plan, and it worked really well. It was very, very efficient. You got AJ Brown lined up inside, and that created a lot of favorable looks. And when you just have five out in the pattern, even if no one's getting open or Jalen doesn't see a guy, you're spreading the defense so much that it makes it so much easier for him to escape and run. So there's countless plays that he was hitting nice throws, and then there were also plays where it's like, you know what? Don't love it, but what I love is the green grass in front of me, and I'm gonna go run and pick up 8 yards with my legs. And it's like you can really build an efficient attack out of empty with the weapons that you have, and the tackles I would say in the passing game just being effective too in that sort of regard, and the quarterback with his legs. So they should continue doing that. They did it for, like, drives at a time, and it was very successful, and it was nice to see. It's nice to see that they're getting A.J. Brown very much more involved. Like, he had a lot of receptions in the first half, but it didn't feel like a force feed job at any point. Um, Dotson had some everyone got involved, everyone made nice plays, and, you
Well,
got
I
your
would say
running
the
game
big
going
thing,
again.
Michael, was the fact that the passing attack really opened up the ground game in the second half, where, oh, shocker, there's no more 8-man boxes. And then, oh, Saquon Barkley is getting 6 yards a carry, 7 yards a carry. Where there's still miscues. Yeah, like Michael, like that one play we were debating today, the Saquon's longest run where he did the spin move in the backfield and looks like
Took
they were
off for
running.
another,
It
yeah,
looks like they were running counter. It looked like I think Jurgens and Steen are both at fault on that play.
sure.
Steen because he probably was supposed to pull, but Jurgens probably didn't commute. Maybe Jurgens is the center man, and like I think people kind of took for granted Jason Kelsey for how good he was for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a Hall of Famer that really made sure everything was taken care of pre-snap, and we see a lot of issues uh, pre-snap, but like also post-snap, where that play alone, it looks like Steen looks like he's kind of doing the wrong thing, and Jurgens just completely whiffs totally. Like whether it was supposed to be a chip or a double team or anything, he just makes like zero contact with the man in front of him when he was trying to, and he's done that a good bit this year. Clearly, the physical ailments are waning on him, and maybe he was
Yeah,
never
yeah, but
as great. Like it
that's
just
not even a
it's
physical
frustrating.
issue. That's like either he because I don't know. You see, don't you see like all the time though when they're like pre-snap, Tyler Steen's always turning back to look at Jalen.
No, it's for the snap count when they're in silent. Yeah.
And but it's always like so like do you kind of think though like maybe there was a miscommunication with on that play where like the way that Jurgens ran that play, he was not going after that D tackle in the A gap. That's where I thought it was. It was counter because Jalen's handing looks like he's going to hand it off to his left, and they were going to go on the strong side, like on a stretch, which kind of explains why Steen went forward, right? Because they ran.
It
because they
just
love
it was some it was some sort of
because they love running
miscommunication.
counter. They love running counter when they have when they have an extra lineman, but run it to the weak side. They've done that's the third week in a row that they've done that, and like we did it against the Raiders and got like an 8 or 9 yard gain 2 weeks ago. But on that play, it's sort of like what makes it more frustrating is that you run this damn play every week, which means you practice it. You have to practice it every week if you run it every week, at least once in a game.
Ultimately, what would tank I think the biggest issue that would tank the team at this point and be, like, a big reason why they lose is the offensive line play, the inconsistency of it, the health of it, whatever you wanna call it. Um, if you go against the ferocious defensive line, it can really neutralize the run game and make you one-dimensional, and that just makes everyone's lives a little bit harder. But they're showing improvements.
What did
They
you think
really
about? Did you
need
see Jalen? Someone like Devin Caney was like lip reading what he was saying on the sideline when
she
they
was
had.
on the sideline. She probably heard it, that Jalen just kinda preaching communication and keep fighting, classic good leader stuff. I don't make anything much of it. What I really wanna see them continue to do more, and I think will just keep unlocking more in this offense, or at least just help consistency in the run game, is keep running your duo, keep running your double teams up front, because you generate legitimate displacement to the defensive lineman almost every time they do it. Like, there were multiple plays just on Saturday alone from the TV angle that you can see, uh Jurgens, Dickerson, or Steen Fred Johnson, or Steen Jurgens double team, that they're just driving defensive tackles, interior defensive linemen 4+ yards back off the ball into linebackers, into safeties trying to help with the run game, and that's it. That's your bread and butter. Whether it's because your offensive line's very banged up or other guys aren't as good as they were in previous years, whatever the case may be, your best bet to have a good, efficient running attack is by utilizing your double teams and getting your big bodies to just move mass out of the way so Saquon can go untouched for like 4 yards down the field and then make something happen because he hits the hole without having to make a guy miss 5 yards deep in the backfield. You know, how many times are we gonna be asking him if Jurgens whiffs or Steen misses an assignment to make a guy miss 5 yards in the backfield and then go break it for another 15, like, or even longer like he did against Washington, and that's just difficult. That's a very tough ask, and it's nice to see that they did run a lot more of their duo, and they had a lot more success running the football. So, hopefully that continues. It should continue this week against Buffalo, against another very piss poor run defense. Saquon really should go nuts. Um,
Well, geez,
and
before his injury, Quinshon Judkins was he was despite against the zombie Brown with the Browns
Dude,
O line.
it's everybody, John. It really is. It's every team runs the ball extremely well against Buffalo. Like, it is a awful run defense that they need to just that's what they gotta keep going with, because the passing game, you have what works in your passing game. You have your little RPOs, you have your slants, you're working your play action digs in, and you have your go balls and your post, all that sort of you have those in there, you're working your empty. You just need to keep ironing out and making that run game clean, and I think your double teams are your way to do it, and I think they're gonna keep doing it. I really hope they do, because that is their best bet to go on a run here with the offense. As far as the defense goes, obviously, they didn't seem to be tested all that much. Marcus Mariota gets knocked out of the game, and 18-year veteran Josh Johnson comes in and doesn't pose much of a threat, but when passes were getting out and downfield or whatever, they pretty much business as usual from, Quinyon Mitchell being locked down and Cooper DeJean getting an interception and being locked down. Adoree Jackson had the one play where he got beat and he kinda shot his hands a little late on McLaurin, but besides that, he was good as well. Like, the defense is just extremely, extremely good. Brandon Graham's great inside and pass
Yeah, I
rush.
think the
It's
final
just
score
wonderful.
kind of gives a false
I was
impression.
gonna say, this is one of those games where it was similar to last year where, taking your foot off the gas a little bit, and obviously Elliott's missed field goals, which we'll talk about in a second. But you're a couple missed kicks and a garbage time touchdown away from this final score being 35-10 or 34-10. And if the score was 34-10, it's a totally different conversation. I think that it's like, oh, we just
Yeah,
lose
I
2 massive
agree.
blowouts,
Yeah,
but
that was
29-18 is a
so.
little,
Yeah, so do you remember when, like, over a month ago, I was like, if the Eagles just turn like two of these 3-and-out drives into field goal drives, I feel like we would feel better about the offense. Where if we're winning games like 28-10
Mhm.
or 31 like 13, and we're bitching about the, oh, we're not blowing teams out. Dude, if you win 28-10, that's kind of a blowout because
Yeah, yeah.
because that's three possessions. You've basically, the game was over middle of the third quarter, which this game was. This game was over in the middle of the third quarter.
Mhm.
We saw Tanner McKee. Tanner McKee, second straight week, he made an appearance. You know, Tank Bigsby got some nice closeout runs to end the game. Got his first Eagle touchdown. The Eagles were really trying to force that 2 weeks ago
Mhm.
against the Raiders, and they got stuffed at the goal line. That would have also made the Raider game look way worse on paper. But look, man, the Eagles aren't the Detroit Lions. They're not interested in running the score up and
Well,
making it look like
uh,
making. What do you mean? Why are you going?
they went for 2.
Oh, well, it's funny. That's a great segue into the next game
Well,
where,
let's start before we get into that, we gotta talk about the kicker at the moment.
um,
Jake Elliott has struggled pretty mightily, this year. We thought it was the long snapper. I was hoping it was the long snapper, and the struggles have continued. It's it's hard to, like, he's not missing chip shots to, like, actively win you and lose you games, but he's missing very, very makeable field goals in a season where it's never been easier to make field goals with the way the K balls are, and he's missing them throughout the course of games that would change the vibe of games and certainly would have changed the vibe of 2 of their losses, to the Chargers and the Dallas Cowboys. Um, and he misses 3 kicks on Saturday, one of
well,
which
this
got
happened
wiped
last
away,
year as well, man, where he'd
and he
missed.
wasn't good in the playoffs until the Super Bowl. Like, he missed multiple extra points in the Rams game, and I know it was the snow or whatever, and he made his field goals, which was great, but now it's like the opposite where he's missing field goals, but he's making his extra points, and he made his kicks in the Super Bowl, and that was happy day. Made his kicks in the conference championship game, although for whatever reason, I do feel like he missed one. I'm not sure if I'm misremembering that, but, um, point being is that, like, we're on back-to-back years now where towards the end of the season, the kicks have just started going awry. He starts off fine, and I don't know if he's, like, old and, like, his body isn't able to handle the full season workload of a kicker, but he's one of the highest paid kickers, and he's got the lowest field goal percentage among kickers in the NFL, and, like, that's just indefensible, it's inexcusable, and it's to the point where I'd kinda almost be shocked if he's on the team next year. Um, and he's probably, like, one more stinker away from them throwing him on IR and bringing in a new kicker for just to see what they have. Like, if he misses multiple kicks against Buffalo, I think you're gonna have no choice but to look at outside options for a playoff run because, like, that'll kill you. Like, we know it all the time how kickers can sink you in a playoff game or in any sort of game, and if he continues to struggle, I can't just be like, "Well, I know he's made big kicks in his life in the playoffs before, so I'm just gonna assume he's gonna do it again." Like, I don't wanna wait around to find out if he's gonna do it again. Because God forbid they're going on a run and he misses something that he should very much make that would kill the season.
Yeah, it would pretty much. Yes, I agree
Because
with
it would
you.
almost cement his legacy in a negative light when it should very much be very positive with all the big kicks that he's made in his life.
Yeah, and yeah, if their season end like if the offense like let's say the Eagles hang like 35 on the Bills, it's like 35-28 Eagles, right? And we're feeling all good and they rest their starters, week 18, we go into like the wild card round against say like Frisco and they lose because he shanks a last second like 48-yard field goal, then everyone's just going to blame it on him,
Yeah,
you
I'm gonna
know?
be really disgusted.
And then because then you're gonna say it's is it Sirianni's fault for trying him out there? Well, he's not the GM. Howie's the one that keeps bringing him back.
No, it's at this point, it's the entire organization that they need to be having this conversation of, "Okay, where are we at with the kicker? Like, are we going to trust him? Are
Because
there agents we need to start calling to bring players in for a workout?" Because it's getting to that time. It's getting to that point. You can't be like a shot in the dark if he's gonna make a kick. He's like, what, 5 for 16, in his last, 16, 50, or the last 2 years in 50-plus yard field goals, when that was, like, his thing, that he could make the long ball. It was almost the opposite. It was the shorter ones that were a little so-so, but he'd drill you the 50-plus ones so you'd kind of deal with it, and now he's just kinda missing a lot, and
yeah, I
it's
mean,
not good, man.
yeah, I mean, his nickname is Missy Elliott. Like
Well, that's
that's not
just a
good.
shame.
That's
No,
not
no.
good.
Yeah. So, hopefully hopefully nothing too catastrophic comes of that, but besides the kicker, really not many complaints. Jalen, I thought, made some really nice throws. He missed a couple, but it's always gonna happen. I thought he made some great ones, even though it was a wobbler. That touchdown to Goddard was a great, great, great ball placement, and Goddard obviously makes a great catch. It is going to probably suck a lot when he leaves in the offseason. Um, you know, can't totally blame the Eagles for that, but it is definitely gonna sting. With that being said, we can segue into the Saturday night game, a classic, a doozy, an absolute ball. The Green Bay Packers fall in overtime to the Chicago Bears, and the Packers, the injuries just kept coming. Jordan Love gets speared in the forehead and knocked out of the game with a concussion. Feels like he has a really decent shot to miss their next game this weekend, which would not be ideal as they're really clinging to a playoff spot. Luckily for them, the Lions lost again, so that helps. But it's looking pretty bleak, the health of the Packers as that goes. But a real tough loss and what was a very entertaining game. I mean, one of the most improbable comebacks that we've seen in a while. It was what, under 1% chance to win the game for the Chicago Bears when they trotted out to kick a field goal and let so much time run off the clock that it went under the 2-minute warning by the time it went through the uprights, and that made it a 7-point game and ultimately recovered at onside kick that was totally botched. Has to give you shades of the Seattle game in the playoffs in the
Man, what
2014
is up
divisional.
with the coaches from the Kyle Shanahan tree just completely botching like end game management of very like routine plays that like everyone else figures out a way to not let it happen, and yet their team.
I mean, Romeo Doubs just flat out missed the ball.
Yes,
It
like how
started
often does
skipping
that
and
happen?
it's
He's got
brutal.
the
I
he
mean,
has the well. It's what, Michael. Don't you feel like maybe that's a spot where Tucker Kraft is on the field when he's like not injured? Like he's the guy on the hands team.
I mean,
I'm
you're
not making
putting
an excuse. It's just
it's
sort of
not.
like,
I mean, I can't even think that far into it. Like, you should be able to put Malik Willis out there, and he should be able to recover the
well,
ball. Like, it's
no, it's
just
like, well, like
it.
if you remember in the Eagle game, the officials weren't set, so the Eagles almost botched their onside
Well,
recovery.
I mean, they weren't going for it. They heard the whistle. Devonta Smith didn't even try. But it's like they got Devonta Smith and Goddard as their two big hands guys, and like I don't know. You just can't miss it. There's no you put a wide receiver out there, you got to catch the ball. It just doesn't matter. Like I can't kill Lafleur for that. Like that's just unfortunate. But the bigger story of this game is, well, one, shout out Malik Willis, very capable backup. Good for him. Seemed like he could have been someone that was out of the league and has turned himself into a viable backup, and especially with a skill set that varies so greatly. It's a little different than like Tyler Huntley, where his skill set is similar to that of Lamar's, so it plays well. Um, in just their normal scheme. But shout out Matt LaFleur that they have seemingly a whole page of the playbook dedicated to, okay, this is what we do if Malik Willis gets in. And it includes a lot more zone reads. It includes a lot more ways to threaten with his legs. And I'm sure not all teams have like that built into the playbook as much. And he's really built himself into a nice backup. So shout out Malik Willis. But the biggest story of this game is Caleb Williams making big time throws in big time spots, and he did it multiple times. You know, the drive after the onside kick to get them into position, and 4th and 4 fadeaway jumper in the corner of the end zone, where I thought that ball was going into the 3rd row off out of his hand, but then it lands perfectly where it needs to, tie the game, go to overtime, and obviously hit the big dagger to DJ Moore to win it after the turnover. So really, really big time stuff from Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I thought, was very he looked very Josh-ish.
Yeah, sure.
Except I think he's just more like at this stage of his career is way more refined than Josh Allen. Yeah, Caleb Williams is going to be a problem in the NFC, I think, for an extremely long time.
Yeah, him and Ben Johnson, they got a nice duo out there in Chicago. The future, I would say, is actually bright. Not this fraud brightness of Matt Nagy and Mitchell Trubisky or Matt Eberflus and Justin Field. Like none of that garbage. This is actual real football here.
Yeah, I mean, Fugazi, Fields, Eberflus, like that's just a Fugazi combo. Ben Johnson was Ben from my experience, what I've seen since I started following football at a very young age. Ben Johnson, in terms of an OC, definitely one of the most hyped up, heralded OCs that I've seen like ever.
Yeah.
And Caleb Williams, one of the most hyped up quarterback prospects I've seen ever. Wow, Michael, what a shocker.
Starting to gel a little bit,
Wow,
starting to
shocker,
gel.
Michael. Two guys that are very talented. Now that they've worked together, worked out their issues, they're winning because we're in the beginning of the season. It felt like Ben Johnson was just pissed off so much at Caleb, where it was
I mean,
like,
people forget those articles that were written in the off season where it was like Ben Johnson seemingly frustrated that Caleb's not grasping his scheme and not taking the simple things. And, oh, Caleb's a diva, and Ben Johnson might not be the one to put up with it, and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, okay, and now what? Now what? Everyone's this is like a match made in heaven. Like, oh my God,
well, yeah, I think
So
they're both very similar. I think at the early onset, because they're so similar, it's going to cause friction because
such
it's
high
like,
believers in themselves, like they really trust what they put out there. So shout out the Bears, man. They got work to do. They do not have easy games to finish the year, that is for certain, but the way the Lions finished their game and the way that the Packers' health is boding, it looks like the Bears all but are gonna lock up the NFC North and put themselves in a very favorable position to perhaps win a couple playoff games and go on a run. So shout out them. The What do we want to talk about from Sunday? Because there was some slop. I guess we can just brush through everything and whatever deserves a fine-tuned comb can get it. Bills Browns. This was you were right all over this game with the spread and the game being close. It looked like the Bills were gonna start blowing them out. They started breaking it open, but the defense in Cleveland tightened up a little bit, and the Browns were able to move the ball a bit and really put this game in jeopardy. It felt like all they were trying to do was just run the ball, and a couple times it got stopped, and it looked like Cleveland had a they did have opportunities to go ahead, but Shador took one too many sacks, and it kinda drowned them. But Buffalo, I mean, there's not really much to take away from this game with them, I think. It was just a normal letdown victory where nothing really of
Well,
note
I think the
happened.
Bills realized deep into this game, I think especially Josh Allen, that if he just doesn't turn it over, that
Yeah.
they're going to win. And like he had that really, really bad, like almost safety where he looked like he got hurt. I thought it was a safety because it's
Uh,
then they
it
showed
was
a different angle where it wasn't a
he kept the
safety.
ball out. It was pretty much every part of his body except the football was across the into the end zone. So, very much like it's like the opposite of, when you're going in, it's like, "Oh, and he got the ball across for a touchdown." And this was like everything's in the end zone except the football. So,
I've never seen that before.
you don't really ever, honestly. Like you just because stuff like that just does not happen. So,
And you look at the final score, man, a safety would have really helped the Browns. They would have
mhm,
really helped them
mhm.
out.
Yeah.
And then because the Browns at the end of the first half, Michael, my goodness, dude. First off, I'm sick of this Kevin Stefanski like defense where everyone it's like,
Oh,
oh,
man.
the Browns blow, but like Stefanski's a good coach. We've been saying this for like 3 years in a row. I'm done. I'm fed up, dude. Like
Mhm.
like
Alright.
end of the first half, long snapper, horrible snap.
I'm gonna believe in
The long snapper worm burned the ball.
yeah. I'm gonna believe in Stefanski still.
No.
No, listen, I'm gonna hold out for when he gets fired, if when, and he goes somewhere else that maybe is a little more functional, and we'll see then. We'll regroup in however long that takes
If
to revisit
Stefanski
our
was more enthusiastic about Shador, like that's where it kills me. It's like, oh, I don't want to coach Shador.
it is strange, and I don't know, that whole everything about that organization just has a bit of a stench to it, I'll say. Chargers Cowboys. Man, can we eat some crap on this game right here.
No, sharp people were saying, oh, the Cowboys are going to win. Like every
Listen, and we
conceivable.
we can eat it with them. Like there's just nothing about it. The Cowboys. This was like
Michael,
it's
they
such a
suck.
they're not good. They're really
They
not. And it
suck.
was just one of
Like
those games that it was
that's
like they didn't capitalize and the defense couldn't stop a nosebleed when they needed to. And you know, Herbert is definitely we had some me and John had some MVP text going on during Sunday, and a door has really opened up that it feels like whoever in the AFC gets the 1 seed, that quarterback is going to win MVP.
yeah.
And the only thing
Well,
that's keeping it from is
no, not Bowen
Stafford.
Hurts.
No, of course not. But the if it's New
Drake
England, it's
May.
May. If it's Jacksonville, it's Lawrence. And if it's the Chargers, it's Herbert. And the only thing that would keep it from that is Stafford because he's probably gonna finish the year with, like, 45 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, and it's while I don't think he probably deserves the MVP, it's gonna no one's really gonna get upset at those stats winning it, but Justin Herbert has been playing some really, really good football with a it's very easy. I mean, how many times did we declare the Chargers dead back in like October because their tackles were out and they had all these injuries and it was like, I'm sorry, no sane team is winning anything in this league without their two starting tackles. And not that the backups have been anything crazy good. The quarterback is just really playing well and the defense is good, so that helps, but Justin Herbert is playing at a very high level and is doing a lot to just prosper despite the fact that the offensive line is in complete ruin.
Yeah, and realistically, like in the past, when Herbert's had bad O lines, straight up the Chargers would just lose. You
Yeah,
know.
they finally like, they have a nice set of weapons around him, even though, like, McConkey isn't having as good as a year he did last year, but he's still quite good, and Quentin Johnston's breakout was very much on early in the season, but it's tapered off. Keenan Allen's pretty reliable. We know how old he is, but third and Keenan is still very much a thing. Rondé Gadsden's helped out, and the backfield has been helpful. So the skill positions are finally like pretty adequate, but the offensive line play being so bad is still it's
Yeah, and I
shocking that they're
also
able
I
to
will
win
say,
this
I'm going to
much.
say this though, Michael, with Lad McConkey having a down year, I do attribute it to two things. One, um, Herbro's not getting enough time to throw in the pocket,
Mhm.
and I think number two, I think Oronde Gadsden. Now they have like a passing weapon at tight end. I think that kind of cuts into some of those like middle of the short middle targets for
I do think this is like the this kind of shakes the, "Oh, just because Lad McConkey's a short, like, white receiver, he's like Wes Welker." Like, that's everyone's, like, favorite thing to do when they see a little white wideout running around, and the truth is that Lad McConkey plays a lot more like a guy like Doug Baldwin or a guy like Steve Smith Senior, where it's like you can
oh,
get vertical, they can play above their size and is a good downfield threat. And when like Lad McConkey just gets all the, it reminds me of like Edelman and
oh my
Amendola, and
god, yeah,
it's
yeah,
like, okay,
exactly.
man, this is
Nobody ever
his
says Jordy
production's getting
Nelson. I
cut.
thought Jordy Nelson was pretty good.
Yeah, he was pretty good, but he wasn't
Actually, you know who
short
like
and
kind of, well, no, like
undersized.
what kind of like my comp for like Lad McConkey is like Jarvis Landry, like this guy
Sure, sure.
that could be this possession monster. Who's not
Yeah,
very like you look at him, he doesn't look very physically impressive, but he's
but he
very good.
plays
Okay.
above his size.
Yeah,
He
by the way,
plays above.
Oronde Gadsden, like not going to win offensive rookie of the year. He should be on
Yeah,
the list of like top five guys. Very good for the Chargers this year. I will say
yeah,
this.
yeah,
Very good. Definitely gonna be a sleeper in fantasy next year if the tackles for the Chargers don't die like they did this year.
yeah.
Well, Herbo will have more time to.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No,
Yeah.
that's my point. Yeah, I mean Cowboys. I mean, dude. I mean, listen for the Cowboys. Listen, it's going to be so easy for them to just be like, oh, we're going to fire Eberflus after 1 year. We're going to bring in someone else like
Mhm.
Jonathan Gannon. I'm going to throw a name
Oh
out.
my god.
I'm just going to throw a name out there or
Yeah.
something. But Michael, like dead ass, like their offense just does not 17 points. Like they've been very anemic on offense the last couple weeks. I think a big part of it is the WIP people were saying, well, the Eagles are forcing the ball to AJ Brown. That's why the offense is struggling. I actually kind of think part of the reason the Cowboys offense is struggling a little bit is that they're forcing the ball to CD Lamb and they're not really getting Pickens as involved. When the Cowboys offense was cooking, is when Dak is just launching moon balls down the field to George Pickens and he's just plucking them out of the air. And listen, like, yeah, he had the one game where he kind of gave up a little. He gave up.
Yeah, listen, the expectation went out the window and the offense looked a little fiery, but then it just stalled out. I don't know. This is what you get with a bad team where it's like, I don't think the offense is bad. I don't think it's mid. I do think it's a good offensive group with good players, but you go up against a good defense and your defense can't really get a stop. This is just kind of how things go. The pressure gets on, the heat gets on. You
I
get
mean, they
behind
got
this.
shut out in the second half.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it was 24-17 or no, it was like what? They were up at half maybe? I don't know. It was
I'm not
close.
saying
And
the
then
players are bad. I think the scheme isn't very good.
I I think the stats and stuff are still pretty good, and they're gonna finish pretty good. It's just it's a whole team game, and I think if their defense was better, like I mean, we saw the Cowboys were looking at their best when their defense was playing well. That 3 to 4 week stretch of their defense not being the worst thing on planet Earth, the team looked very good, and it was like it felt very real that the Cowboys were going to make the playoffs, and the defensive run ended, and everything else came down with it. You know, but next game here, Chiefs Titans. How about it? Gardner Minshew goes down with an injury. Guy I've never heard of comes in to play quarterback.
Chris Oluokun.
Yeah, not much to talk
You
about
know,
there.
the only thing I know about Chris Oluokun that's funny is collecting when I started collecting football cards. If you open up packs, Chris Oluokun was drafted by the Steelers in the 7th round of 2022. They drafted Kenny Pickett in the 1st round. So
Mm,
Steelers rookie quarterback Chris Oluokun, two former drafted Steelers quarterbacks started a game
wow,
this week.
wow.
Well, no, they started back to back
Not
weeks.
this week. Yeah,
Not
yeah,
this week,
yeah.
but like back to back weeks.
Right.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, dude.
Chiefs have just thrown in the towel.
I think the Titans might have screwed their chances at the first overall pick. And
Yeah, it's going to be the Giants or the Raiders. Whoever loses their game next week. But yeah, the Chiefs have thrown in the towel. I
the
think
Titans fell to 6th in the draft order, according to Tankathon, for beating the Chiefs. Because right now, the Giants are first. They are tied with the Raiders, but because the Giants' schedule is weaker than the Raiders' schedule, they get the first overall pick.
I mean they play each other. Whoever loses is going to get the first overall pick. That's how that's going to go.
The Tank Bowl.
It is the Tank Bowl. But yeah, not much to talk about there. Next game we had the Bengals Dolphins. Again, not much to talk about there. I think
I would
pretty much everything
I
we
would
thought was going to
say
happen happened.
we hit it right on the head where we're like, oh, it's going to be like a Joe Burrow. We're partially hit it on the head. Joe Burrow masterclass. This is what the Bengals look like when they're healthy, and if Joe Burrow's not depressed, or the Bengals are playing a team that won't threaten their atrocious defense. Man, Michael, if you drafted Chase Brown in fantasy, you most likely didn't make the playoffs, right? Or if you
Yeah.
made the playoffs, you may have lost your first playoff game because Chase Brown did nothing. That has to be so frustrating to watch him.
Yeah, no, that's pretty disgusting. But you know,
What'd you think of
Bengals had
Quinn
their full
Ewers?
display. I mean, nothing against that Bengals defense really moves me in any sort of direction. So nice. I don't know. It was very, very nondescript for me.
False
Very
hope.
nice. Yeah, I think that's doing too much. I wouldn't have taken much away from this game as a Dolphins fan at all. Um, Jets Saints again. Tyler Shuck, shout out, is a lot better than I thought he was. Not that I think he's anything insane at the moment, but he is playing just pretty good football, man. He's making good throws, good decisions with his legs. He's definitely earned the right to start for the Saints next year, and I'm intrigued to see how things go forward with them. The Jets, they're the
It has
Jets.
to
They'll
be
always
a
be the
little
Jets.
frustrating as a New Orleans Saints fan with this 3-game win streak that in a draft that's going to have just tons of really good players that you're going to be picking like in the teens potentially because you keep winning too many games.
Yeah, I mean they're at 8 right now. Like they got a few ways. They got to win. They'd have to like win 5 in a row to end the season to throw themselves in the teens, which I don't know. I don't know what their schedule looks like. I'll look at it just to humor ourselves. Um, they play. Oh my god, they're at the Titans and at the Falcons. So 2 games that could very much go either direction. They're probably going to be favored in both. So I guess they could win 5 in a row to end the season. What an easy schedule they've really had. Obviously, they had the 2 divisional games, but my goodness. Um, next game, another nothing burger. Vikings Giants. Both quarterbacks sucked, and the game ended 16-13 in favor of the Vikings. A huge loss for the Giants, for the tank. Um, but like it was just that was just slop, man. I mean, Jackson Dart had a stat line that just didn't feel real. He was 7 of 13 for how many yards was it? 7 of 13 for 33 yards. I'm almost at a loss on how that's even possible. Um, I does that make any sense to you? Like, not really. JJ McCarthy gets hurt in this game. It just a whole nothing burger that I was very fortunate to not have to actually sit down and watch.
Yeah, I saw someone say that the Giants firing Dable is going to hurt Dart's development, and I read that, and I'm like,
It won't it like he's got to learn how to play without literally putting himself in a car crash every play. And Brian Dable was not good for his physical health, but I guess he was maximizing his play style. And you don't need to maximize your play style as a rookie quarterback when that play style is put your body on the line every single play. So he's got to learn how to play within the bounds of health. And if that's going to take some extra time, clearly it is. I think you should be okay with that. I don't know. But maybe he's not the next Josh Allen quite just yet, like some people were claiming early on.
yeah, I would agree with that.
Next game, we finally got some juice here. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost to the Carolina Panthers. Very successful hate watch for myself. Baker Mayfield was quite horrible in this game. I think was the biggest reason that they lost. He did have some nice plays, nice scrambles against pressure, but for the most part, when he sees pressure, it's the same happy feet, happy feet, happy feet, turtle your head, and hope that when you pick it back up, you just emerge from the pile and then you can make a play. And more often than not, you get sacked. And it was culminated in Mike Evans expecting Baker to kind of start going into crazy scramble mode, but he actually threw it pretty early and they were not on the same page. And he throws a game ending, game losing interception, and that was awesome to watch as a non-Baker fan like myself. So, successful hate watch there.
Yeah, I mean, once again, Bryce Young wins a game when he's a home underdog.
Making big plays, man. Like, he has tremendously better pocket presence than Baker Mayfield, and I think that showed as Todd Bowles was just blitzing the ever living hell like he always does, but Bryce stayed in there and
He
made some big
tries
throws.
to get home when you want to
Yeah,
blitz
I
all the
think the
time.
biggest play of the game or the biggest sequence in the game, I'll say, is on 3rd down, I think it was, at the very end of the first half. The Panthers were in, like, makeable, not chip shot, but not bomb field goal range. They were you know what? Let me pull up the exact yard line to tell you where they were. They were at the 22-yard line. That is quite makeable. They're at the 22-yard line with 7 seconds to go on the clock, and they elect to run a 0 blitz, and they didn't disguise it even a little bit. Todd Bowles lines the defense up, ready to send the house, and he goes and sends the house. The house was they had guys creeping up to the line. They had the DBs to the trip side standing like 15 yards off the ball, and they had the DB on Tet like 8 yards off the ball, and the ball gets snapped, and McMillan's just able to run right by his guy. Bryce Young floats it up in perfect position for a touchdown, and to me, that's insane. You got 10 seconds left in the half. The Panthers have 0 timeouts on 2nd down. You have all 3 timeouts, so you hadn't been using them on this drive, and what is the benefit here from sending the blitz? You hope to get a sack, and, like, any normal sack on that play, sure, it ends the half because they have no timeouts, but I don't know, man. Were you really gonna get a sack? What do you think Dave Canales was telling Bryce Young on that play? Get the ball out. If you don't have the touchdown to Tet McMillan, just throw it out of bounds. You cannot take a sack you cannot complete a pass over the middle. You can't take a sack. This needs to be a touchdown or a throwaway, nothing else. And they send the blitz. He stands in there and drops a dime for a touchdown. And that was a humongous swing in the game. That's a 4-point swing there at least. The kicker's still got to make the kick. So very questionable defensive play calling that I think really turned the tide in the favor for the Panthers at the end of the first half, and then ultimately, Bryce Young made more plays than Baker Mayfield down the stretch, and that led to the win for the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've been on the Bryce Young train for like a year and a half now. I think,
Mhm,
I don't think he's at the spot where Caleb is, obviously,
mhm.
but he's kind of getting a lot closer than I think people really realize. Bryce Young's a huge reason why they're in the position they're in, Michael. I mean, you can't.
He is. Listen, he is streaky. When he plays well and makes big time plays, the Panthers are in a spot to win, but we've seen him lay a few stinkers this year too, and we'll see what he looks like in a playoff game. If hopefully the Panthers finish the job and win the South.
I
But
just think it's crazy. If you look at last year, to this year, last year they went from Xavier Legette and Adam Thielen as his top two receivers. This year, it's Jalen Coker, who is like his Tank Dell, like that's his guy, and Tet. And Tet is a dog. Like Tet is really good. And listen, Bryce Young's also really worked. He's very he. I think he's going to really excel once he builds on his pocket presence and knows not to bail early from the pocket, and he's just going to be able to climb it and just start launching throws, kind of akin to like a Drew Brees, because I would say they're both similar to kind of
I
how
mean
they.
that's the sort of skill set. A more mobile Drew Brees is what you kind of got to go for. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you know, hopefully they finish the job. The Buccaneers need to win their final 2 games, one of which being against the Panthers and the other one being against the Dolphins. And the Panthers, they can afford to lose this one now. They can lose to the Seahawks and just have to beat Tampa week 18 to get in. Um, if they happen to beat the Seahawks, which don't really see happening, but if they happen to beat the Seahawks and lose to Tampa, I wonder what that would do for like, say Tampa beats Miami. Okay, so not ultimately, the Seattle Carolina game means absolutely nothing. If the Panthers beat the Seahawks, but the Buccaneers win the last 2 games, it doesn't matter. So the only game that matters is Carolina beating Tampa once again. This time it will be in Tampa in 2 weeks. So very excited for that one. That game might honestly get flexed to Sunday Night Football, and that would be awesome. I think it would be very funny to see the Panthers on this prime time in that sort of spot. So
Well, that would
I'm rooting
also
for that.
that would have a massive impact on the Eagles Bills game, because if the Bears were to play at 1 and win, the Bears are basically locked into the 2 seed, no?
Uh, well, I mean, the Bears control their own destiny, so they just need to. What are the Eagles? 10-5 right now. The Bears just need to win one more game, and they just have to tie the Eagles, and they play San Francisco and Detroit, which Detroit could very much be eliminated by them. Listen, the 1 seed is not out of the question for the Bears, and they obviously have the inside track at the 2 seed over the Eagles, so it will be interesting to keep up that NFC playoff race. It's really gonna tighten up all the scenarios, but the next game we have here, another huge one, a big upset, in terms of betting odds, but just a statement game, a statement victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars going into Denver and really kinda taking it to the Broncos. It was close early, and then they just pulled away. They hit their big plays, they got stops, they got a couple turnovers, and took care of business against the Denver Broncos. They really, really did take it to them. And, I was high on the Jags before the season. Season opens up, Trevor Lawrence is struggling, and it's like, well, Liam Cohen is gonna be able to pick his quarterback, and it seems
Yeah,
like he's
even
gonna get a
even
new
in
one.
wins, like the worst ever game winning touchdown that we've seen in a while was that
Yeah, the
Trevor Lawrence
bumbling Chiefs,
fumble
yeah.
Rooski, like
Falling over, getting up,
falls
and
like a deer that falls over, gets up all rattled and runs in, you know?
somehow, yeah, it was ugly, and for the last handful, it was the turning point was blowing that game to Davis Mills and the Texans. They were up huge, and they choked it away, and it felt like, "Alright, that's pretty much the dagger in the Jags season," and shout out Liam Cohen, we'll definitely get some Coach of the Year recognition,
Well, you know,
put them on
Michael,
this great run, man, and the
I
Jags
think
have been playing really good ball.
I think when people talk about coach of the year, I think when you look at everyone's resume for like, oh, why should this guy be coach of the year? I mean, when you look at coach of the year, you should look at their roster, what they have, and then look at like wins and losses. Liam Cohen's got wins over 5 potential playoff teams.
Mhm.
He's got wins over the Niners, wins over Denver, Carolina, the Chargers. Remember
Kansas City, like, I know they're not a playoff team, but we
they
can
blew the Chargers out 35-6, you know? I mean, like, to your point, like, and you look at this Jaguar like roster. I mean,
Colts.
ETN. I mean, Travis Etienne was kind of looked at sort of like not damaged goods, but like he's a declining player,
People thought he was on his way out, and it was like, "Oh, well, there's
you
Tootin to
know.
go
And then
steal
you
his
saw how
job."
the season started, dude. BTJ like completely fell off. Travis
Yep.
Hunter, serious knee injury very early on, out for the season. Um, Travis Hunter basically being their big offseason acquisition and draft acquisition, if you think about it. Like,
Mhm.
and you look at how they're playing, dude. Like, geez, Trevor Lawrence looks like the guy that was picked first, who should have been picked first overall in 2021. That quote unquote generational quarterback, because that's how he's playing right now. And he, the MVP race is so wide open. Like if you threw him out there, like maybe he should be like a top finish, like fifth. You know?
Mhm. Yeah, he hasn't thrown an interception in a month, and he's got 11, which is not nothing, but he had the 3 interception game against the Cardinals in one of the ugliest wins ever, and since then, he's got 12 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and they haven't lost since that Texans game. They're on quite a run, and they got tough games ahead of them against Houston and against or wait, excuse me, that's the Chargers. They do play the who did they finish the season against? They go at Indianapolis and home against the Titans. So, 2 very winnable games that if the Jags win out, they need 1 loss from Denver, 1 loss from New England, and 1 loss from the Chargers. And granted, That is asking a lot sometimes. You know, you need help from 3 different teams, but they can very much do their part to put themselves in a position to get the 1 seed, and that'd be amazing, crazy good turnaround for the Jags. So, shout at them, and then looking at Denver, this was kind of another successful, like, hate watch for myself. Bo Nix had a lot of stats, but I didn't think played all that great, uh, anyways, and the defense, showed some cracks in the armor. They couldn't get stops in the red zone and force field goals. Um, that was probably the biggest turning point, plus some turnovers from Bo. But yeah, the AFC top seeds is going to be a pretty tight race with the Patriots winning and now the Broncos dropping a game. So everyone is very much piled at the top there. You got 4 teams that have a really good shot to get the 1 seed and, like, the Texans as, like, an outside shout where it's not impossible either, so, yeah,
Yeah. Next game,
slop.
surprised. I was surprised.
I thought it was gonna be a better game, to be honest with you, and it wasn't.
Well, shout out Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson for making great fantasy contributions in this game for me.
Mhm.
Michael, I have this weird feeling that a lot my fantasy championship will be decided next Monday when the Falcons play the Rams on Monday Night Football. I think
Oh,
that game will be a high scoring game. I think that's gonna.
I think that's what you want to happen. I think you'd love to see Bijan running all over the place. Like, if Kenneth Walker can do it,
Oh,
why
come on,
can't
man!
Bijan?
Bijan in prime time on ESPN, the Manning Cast. Come on, man.
Now listen, that'll be
Even though it's going to be disgusting, is that everyone's going to talk about Kirk like, oh my god, Kirk like didn't poop himself in this game against the Cardinals. By the way, man, how bad was Josh Sweat's injury? As because he had to be helped off the field.
I didn't see.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, well, geez. I mean, if you have a season-ending injury right now, like, isn't that
I
kind
mean, it
of
doesn't matter much, you know.
But
You
like,
could
man,
sprain
like
your ankle and you're out for the season at this point.
you can punch a fan in the stands and get.
Uh,
Well, the Walter
Walter Nolan
Nolan,
injury was very serious. I'm sure
that
Josh Sweat
was
just has a
sad.
sprain. Yeah.
That was sad because like he was a guy. I think a lot of us thought the Eagles were gonna like draft, move up to pick. Cardinals obviously pick him middle of first round. He was hurt almost all camp. Didn't really get to start playing till like late October, early November, and suffered a very serious injury.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't really buy those reports anymore about Jonathan Gannon not getting fired because I remember the last show we did, you were like, "Oh wow, the Cardinals were 8-9 last year. What the heck happened to them this year?" Like, this year
Yeah.
was supposed to be the Cardinals were supposed to take this massive leap, and you got your head coach like punching dudes in the chest and
Yeah,
like
it's not great, John.
and
It's
and
not great.
ex and basically excommunicating the franchise quarterback.
Yeah, all of it's not great.
That's not good. Like
No.
everyone
But
involved. Like if you're gonna fire Gannon, like
unless it's
the
coming from
GM should be
upstairs.
fired along with him
I mean,
for
they just
creating this
probably need
awful
to
culture.
burn the whole franchise down, to be honest with you.
I Yes, I agree.
It's never winning shit ever. Um,
Wow, speaking of never winning ever.
yeah, this was a good one. The Detroit Lions fall to the Pittsburgh Steelers in dramatic fashion, really. The Lions could not get out of their own way. And when they started
Yeah.
finally moving the ball and chipping the ball downfield and chipping into this lead, Jalen Warren hits 2 home runs that
Yeah, Jalen Warren kept
was
my
just
my
ridiculous.
fantasy opponent, CJ, friend of the
Mhm,
show.
mhm.
He basically is kept him on life support because I would be up by like 80 points on him right now because Jalen Warren had those 2 home runs
Hmm.
to get the Steelers the win. Now I'm sweating a little bit tonight because my opponent, he has Brock Purdy and Kittle going.
Well, Alec Pierce just caught a touchdown from Phillip Rivers, so Colts up 7-0. How about that?
Yeah, I kind of like the
Sure, no one
Colts.
thought that was going to happen.
I kind of
But
like the Colts type. I didn't really want to foresee how it would happen. Anyway,
yeah, about this game, it just
did you, dude? If I would have known the last time the Lions beat the Steelers at home, apparently was when. No, let me ask you. Let me ask you a question, Michael. Does the name Phil Luckett mean anything to you?
nope.
Do you ever see the highlight of Jerome Bettis screwing up the coin toss on Thanksgiving?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That Phil Luckett was the official. That was the last time the Lions beat the Steelers at home.
How about that? I mean, I'm sure they don't play in Detroit all that much,
I
but
think they've played 9 times since then.
Jerome Bettis? How long
Yeah,
ago was that? Like it was like 20 years. They only play out in
like
Detroit.
30, like 30 years ago.
Oh, that feels impossible.
It's something wild. Like it's
But
like
regardless, about this game, um, so the Detroit Lions, obviously, craziness unfolding. They finally get in a position to win the game, and just a comedy of errors going against them. The first one was Amon-Ra St. Brown's touchdown getting wiped off the board because of a pretty clear and obvious pick by Isaac Tesla. And what's so frustrating about that one, and if I was a Lions fan, I'd be so pissed at this, is
was it
because
necessary?
it was not even needed for the sake of the play. Like, if you see where he made contact with the Steelers' defensive back, he was so far away from St. Brown that it really was just so pointless. Like, get out of the way, do literally anything except what he did, and you win the game. And okay, so you take that penalty, it sucks. And then Isaac Tesla doubles down on effing the whole game up by just straight up dropping the game winning touchdown. I know it's a tough catch, but it's what he's been doing all season. It hit him in both of his hands and
Well, when
was
you're known
like,
as the guy that makes the circus catches and you can't
you
make that
need to make the like difficult catches that aren't like impossible.
in
And
crunch time, not like,
yeah, no,
oh,
he
we're up
drops it.
by 28 points and I'm making this freak circus catch.
Right. So he drops the game-winning touchdown, and then the crazy play of Amon-Ra St. Brown, pretty clear and obvious, pushing off Jalen Ramsey to get open, and the flag comes out. But
Again,
say in
not
a perfect
necessary to
world
do.
where it doesn't have, yeah, it really wasn't necessary. He could have just cut his route shorter and whatever. But then he catches it just short of the goal line, gets pushed back, laterals it to Goff, who dives in the end zone. Really cool stuff. Ultimately, they ruled that it was a touchdown that gets wiped away from a penalty. But I think if they had to, if there was no penalty in this situation and they called it a touchdown, I think they would have got a call from the expedited review people that said there is no way in hell that his forward progress was not stopped because you don't. How are you still a runner and like still active when you catch a ball at the 1 yard line, get pushed back beyond the 5 yard line, still being held up, and then you can lateral it to Goff. Like that's just not forward progress. That is like pretty hard the definition of it being stopped. Heady play, I guess, regardless, but Amon Ra like kind of sucked throughout that game. Multiple drops. He's been dropping balls for weeks now. Anyways, the real like issue with the Lions, I texted you this morning, or whenever I did. The what is that?
Oh, that's the amount of rushing yards they had against the Steelers yesterday.
It's not good,
15.
man. So
15.
the Lions in there, Jahmyr Gibbs has been held under 4 yards a carry 9 times this season. 9 times?
9 times.
9 times. 9 times has been
Yeah,
held
well, he had
under
2 rushing yards yesterday.
per carry.
No, he had
What?
2 rushing yards.
What?
7 carries, 2 yards.
Are you serious? Holy hell. Okay. I didn't even know it was that bad. Well, that's ridiculous. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs has been held under 4 yards a carry 9 times this season. The Lions in those games are 2-7. You stop Jahmyr Gibbs running the football, you're going to probably beat the Lions. Those 2 wins, you might ask, against the Baltimore Ravens and the Dallas Cowboys. And you might ask, well, how did they win the game? And then you look over to his counterpart, David Montgomery, who in the Baltimore Ravens game had 14 carries for 151
Yeah,
yards,
he pretty
and
much shredded that awful
in
Ravens
the Dallas
defense.
Cowboys game had 6 carries for 60 yards. Not a ton, but he had some, if you
Yeah, but
remember,
remember
had
that
some
was
big
the
runs in
game
that.
where his disabled sister was going to be watching his first NFL game on Thursday
Bengals
night.
game. Wasn't it the Bengals game? Because he's from Cincinnati
Oh
or
shoot!
from Ohio. Yeah, no, it wasn't that
I thought
game.
they panned to her in the Cowboy game.
It
Anyway,
was probably there, but like regardless, the Lions, the offensive line drain, especially in the interior, did a lot to sink their ceiling because while Jared Goff like did end up playing well in this game,
by the
when
way,
you're
Jared
asking
Goff 34 of 54, 364, only had a QBR of 49.5. Michael, that's kind of fun. That's kind of bizarre.
from yeah. So when you like Jared Goff can play well. I thought he made some nice throws in this game. Clearly put the ball in opportunities for it to be won at the end as well. Um, however, we know what Jared Goff is, and on a game by game basis, if you're asking him to throw the shit out of the ball a bunch as your only source of offense, I just don't think the cards are going to come your are going to land your way um, enough, like more often than it's not. And this is the prime example, man. Jahmyr Gibbs is a hell of a player. He's clearly extremely dynamic. Um, has some crazy massive games this year, but when he is held within the bounds of like a bad running attack and the defensive line is really generating a lot of and this is without, TJ Watt, like great run defender, probably the best edge run defender in the NFL. Um, when he is shut down, the Lions offense does not get going. Like it makes the play action not as good because you don't even run the play action as much because you're not running the ball effectively. So teams aren't even worrying about it. And Goff can get you in a straight drop back game, but you can generate some pressure against Jared Goff. We know how poorly that ends up for the Lions. So I don't think that it's like it's all over for Detroit and, they'll never be able to figure it out with this core or anything, but they are in some serious need for interior offensive lineman reinforcements to create a more consistent rushing attack. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs can never have a game with 2 rushing yards, period. He needs to be heavily involved and heavily effective on the ground if the Lions actually want to, achieve their ultimate goals at this point. And they weren't able to do that. And ultimately, all but cost them their season. They need some help from Green Bay. The Lions need to win out, and Green Bay needs to lose out, I think, and that'll be enough to get the Lions in. But that's a tall task at
I'm
this
sure
point.
old man Rogers was just reveling in the fact that he's like, I just beat the Detroit Lions one final time.
Absolutely.
He's certainly reveling in that fact. Um, Michael, dude, I have a hard time hate watching the Steelers because, man, I loved Kenny Gainwell when he was here.
hmm
Shout out Kenny Gainwell for being one of the most underrated off-season pickups this year, man. Because if you have Kenneth Gainwell in fantasy right now, if you picked him up, like you're probably in your championship game.
Yeah, he's been awesome, man. He's really been a big part of the Steelers' offensive engine at this point. He's a great receiver out of the backfield. We know had that miraculous circus catch for a touchdown in the Lions game, and has had like over 115 or 120 total yards in the last like 6 games. Truly has been a force. And one of Rodgers, Rodgers, we know this dates back to Green Bay. He has his like inner circle of weapons that he loves and he trusts and like willfully gets the ball to like all the time. And Kenny Gainwell is probably his favorite target at this point on the Steelers offense out of the backfield, feeling
Well, if you
comfortable
remember when
handing him the
Aaron
ball.
Jones was in his prime, he was like a big passing option for
Oh,
Rodgers.
sure, sure. And it's, that's yeah, yeah. So shout out Kenny
Uh,
Gainwell and the
shout
Steelers
out to
looking like they're gonna win the North. So
the DK Metcalf for well, getting to take the next 2 weeks off. He's suspended the next two games, and yeah, that's just
I don't
I,
know. I don't know what happened. I don't know what I
allegedly
choose to believe.
the guy claims that he called DK Metcalf by his real name. I find that very hard to believe. Not that he called him by his real name, but
But
that's
like
all
that
he
was it.
said.
And like Metcalf
I
said he's had issues with that fan before. So I don't know.
what?
Yeah, he said he's had issues with that fan before and he's told like Seahawks personnel and other NFL personnel about this guy. And so I don't know. Seems weird. I'm not gonna
Does seem extremely
speculate
weird.
too much on it because I don't know. But this takes us to there's not much to talk about in Houston. Vegas, another classic, like the Bills letdown win, where all you really do is just got to get out of there with a victory. Doesn't really matter how it looks. Yeah, that's pretty much the extent of it. Ashton Genty was the leading rusher and the leading receiver in this game, so he finally flashed a nice big shot in the pan, and it just shows that, like, he was good enough and is good enough to play in the NFL. The Raiders are just terrible, but Houston gets another win. That's all that really matters for them. They play the Chargers and um, the Colts to end the season. So that will be very,
Definitely felt
very
like your
interesting to
classic
follow.
trap game yesterday, but you kept texting me. You must have said the word bailout more than the Trump administration
Yeah.
in your texts, especially with the Eagles. But
Oh, dude, every
man,
game had a ridiculous bailout, dude. It was
man, the
unbelievable.
Texans got bailed out in that third and long play
Yeah.
on that
Yeah.
PI. Which, by the way, dude, not for nothing, shouldn't it just be like illegal contact if the quarterback throws the ball like 20 yards past the wide receiver out of bounds and there's contact on the
I
play?
mean, that is the rule. Like, when it's deemed uncatchable, kinda anything goes, and I think sometimes refs are a little ticky-tacky on what's uncatchable. Because sometimes it's like, yeah, he probably wasn't gonna catch it, but if he jumped for it, maybe he coulda got a hand on it, and to me, that is still should fall in the bounds of catchable. But when a ball is, like, so far away, you can't call, like, pass interference. It would have to be, like, illegal contact or defensive hold or something. Um, so yeah, that's a bailout for sure, but not much there. Texans, they keep winning games and they're on to bigger things here. So to wrap up, as Monday Night Football is actively going on, we have Sunday Night Football. Patriots, Ravens. Lamar goes down with an injury, and the Ravens choke a lead. I mean, they choked the game away in what was kind of ugly, and it felt like they were going to pull away. Derrick Henry was having his best game in a while, despite the fumble. And after that Derrick Henry fumble, really kind of felt like the tide shifted and that game got close, but then he still had big runs and scored a touchdown, felt like it was it, and he didn't step on the field after the 12-minute mark in the fourth quarter. And I know that for the Titans have been doing this for a while, and the Ravens did this a lot last year, where in like 2-minute situations or in a lot of passing situations, they won't have Derrick Henry on the field. It was Justice Hill or whatever. And it's like that I can really understand. I get that. But you had the lead and did not have Lamar Jackson. And with those two things, there is not a more obvious thing to do against the team that is very bad against the run, besides running the football with Derrick Henry. Like, you can get away with having him off the field when Lamar is out there, and he can just kinda save you and make a big play with his arm or his legs. But when you got Tyler Huntley and Keaton Mitchell as the 2 closest guys to the football to make a play to ice a game away, that's asinine to me. I thought for a stone cold fact that when Drake May dropped that beautiful throw to Kyle Williams for a touchdown, I was like, "Okay, here comes Henry." I was texting my friend saying, "Okay, well, Henry's gonna hit a home run here and put the game away. It's gonna be the classic Derrick Henry." I felt like he's been close all game to hitting the long home run, and this is the drive. He's gonna be untouched, go through one arm tackle, and run for a 60-yard touchdown. And he was nowhere to be found. He's sitting there in his big overcoat next to Lamar like he's got the flu, and I'm like, "What in the hell is going on?" And the Ravens end up punting, and New England goes down, and they should have got down a lot sooner with a somehow no call pass interference, and Drake May ends up hitting big throws anyways, and Ramondre runs it in for what ends up being the game-winning touchdown. So, total disaster class on the part of the Ravens, and Drake May did a lot for his MVP case with a huge offensive statistical performance and a huge come from behind victory to help probably cement away the division. I don't know if that's fully clinched or not. I don't think it is right now, but also keep them in the running for the 1 seed in the AFC.
Um, I just, on one hand, like Harbaugh needs to be fired. I think it's time.
If they miss the playoffs, I think he actually will get fired. Not
On
that I
the
know
other
he definitely
hand,
should be,
on
but
the other hand, with all the injuries they had this year, like looking at this by like a year to year basis, like LaFleur's not going to get fired because of all the injuries that he dealt with. But the Packers are in a much better position than the Ravens are in right now.
yeah,
Uh,
this has been all year for Baltimore.
I mean, missing like your MVP quarterback for multiple weeks, him not being healthy for virtually all season. Uh,
I
this
mean,
is
this started Sunday Night Football to open up the season against Baltimore, like or against Buffalo, excuse me. This all started very early in the season.
my take. It let's like I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna not factor in that Reddit post that I shared with you or you shared with me.
Right.
I think Josh Allen and the irony of Harbaugh and Allen or Harbaugh and McDermott, like, why are they there so long? It's because they have two MVP quarterbacks that mask a lot of those deficiencies. And we look at Baltimore, where Lamar's not firing on all cylinders because of his health. Like, it really shows you that, like, John Harbaugh, he's, I think as the Ravens coach, like, he needs to change the scenery. Like, he's always quick to blame others. He'll fire both of his coordinators if it means keeping his job. That makes it hard to attract good coaches, Michael, because this guy will literally throw you under the bus if it means saving his own skin.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's going to really hurt like Lamar in the long term because he's never going to really have like that Ben Johnson like offensive coordinator that's going to have the Ravens dropping 40 points every week. you know? And you know what?
Yeah.
Let's throw the GM in there too, Michael. You said it like for 3 weeks in a row. Why the heck did the Ravens not at least make an attempt to lure Devontae Adams to Baltimore? Or I don't know, all these receivers that get traded, like AJ going to the Eagles, etc. They ever make an offer
For
to try?
DK Metcalf, maybe. Like,
Yeah, like make
just
it make an attempt at
like,
least.
I'm sure the Steelers weren't gonna trade George Pickens in division, but it's like, they didn't even try, or T. Higgins. It's just you look at you look at DeAndre Hopkins, and you look at how, like, DeAndre Hopkins was very good for the Ravens on last night, John, was he not? Like, how many times did he make a huge catch on 3rd down from both Lamar and Huntley? He made it like the same back shoulder stop route catch like 5 times to move the chains on 3rd down, and I think about, like, well, that could very easily also be Devonte Adams on the other side, but 20 yards further down the field because he can actually run, and you look at Zay Flowers, who's just not a true number 1 receiver, and he played well yesterday, but what does he ultimately do? He fumbles the game away. How many times has he genuinely fumbled a game away or a game that's hanging in the balance, and it seems like the pendulum is swinging in Baltimore's favor, or he can turn the tide, and he's putting the ball on the turf and it's getting turned over. And, like,
You know what it
I th
reminds me
as
of? It
soon
reminds
as
me of
he caught it, I knew I as soon as he caught it in that spot, I was like, there are way too many defenders around him. This ball is getting put on the ground, and it gets punched out from behind, and it virtually ends the game.
that's Michael. The thing for me is this reminds me a lot of end stage Andy Reid because that would happen a lot, like a lot of end game turnovers. You've blown leads, etc. But Andy Reid's a way better coach than John Harbaugh.
No, but it's just the vibes of
Do
a
you think now?
team
Let me
of a
ask you this:
franchise needing a new change.
if Liam Cohen was the Ravens head coach, Lamar gets that back injury. Is Lamar staying in that game to push for the playoffs?
It is interesting. You brought this up to me last night, and I'm not
I'm not risking my career for John Harbaugh if
I'm
I'm
not
Lamar Jackson.
accusing Lamar of sitting out when he can play, but it definitely I wouldn't be shocked if the vibe of that team under that coach is, "I don't feel like he has my back, so why should I put my life and career on the line and whatever for and stick my neck out to save this guy's job when I know if I F up, he's gonna turn around and blame it on me."
Yeah, when Lamar was going through his issues with the Ravens, you never heard John Harbaugh going like, Lamar's the leader of our team. He's our best player. We need him out there. Lamar's great. Like even when like Jalen Hurts was like, having the bad body language with Sirianni. Sirianni was at least talking him up.
Yeah, no, like Sirianni will never, ever, ever blame a player, like, extremely publicly, even when it's the most obvious F up on a player's resume. He will never,
He was sticking up for
ever
Jake
do it.
Elliott. He's like, dude, he's our kicker. Like, we're not
And that's and,
we're
like,
not
it's
bailing on him now.
yes, and it's just it's not good when you think, like, Harbaugh would defend Justin Tucker today versus defending Lamar, and, like, that's just crazy to think about. But the Ravens, it's time. It's time for Harbaugh to get out. It's time for them to fire him and move on, and I think, like, you see Lamar and the body can break down at times just from usage being so high. I think it's time to bring in a coach that's gonna prioritize getting some really nice receivers and just taking some of the weight off his shoulders in terms of him needing to create everything for the offense to go. Like, actually be able to have good enough receivers and scheme up plays to get guys open in rhythm, in structure that he can deliver and make good throws as opposed to him having to run around and throw on the cape all the time. And I know it works. We've seen it work to such high degrees with that team, but when his body isn't keeping up with him, you see that that play style is just not effective, and it's what it's been all year when he's played. He's trying to do it, and every little thing seems to be going wrong. The throw might be a little off. The throw gets dropped. It gets deflected by a receiver who thinks it's going for him, but it's actually going to someone else. Mark Andrews continues to do stuff that's like it feels like he's trolling out there. Like I don't know, it's really
And
remarkable.
they
And
gave him a
Isaiah
3-year
Likely doesn't
extension.
even dude, Isaiah Likely doesn't even like did he even play yesterday? Like it was
Well, they didn't
unbelievable.
play him because you can't trust him in the red zone.
I guess. I don't know. He's one of your better weapons that you have. Like, why is his leash cut short? But how many times has Dave Flowers got a fumble? How many times does Mark Andrews have to do something unfathomably stupid before his playing time gets cut into? It's just It's very much
Well, it's a mess. It's a
and
mess
it's like,
because
what? You didn't play Derrick Henry with the lead because you were afraid he was gonna fumble it again? Like, why where is are the lines of accountability and why are they so blurry everywhere?
well, look, the
That's the
Ravens are
problem.
what's called like a selective accountability culture.
Yeah, it's very fr I they've lost more home primetime games this year than they have in the last 17 years combined. Do you know how crazy that is? It's almost 2 decades of football, of good Ravens football. They're good all the time, so they do have a lot of home primetime games, and they've lost more this year than they have in almost 2 decades. That's absurd. Um but that's it for the recap. As it currently stands, the San Francisco 49ers, they went down 7-0, and before the first quarter's end, they have thrown 2 touchdowns, one to Demarcus Robinson and then one
Oh,
to
we're in for it.
shocker Christian McCaffrey. So 14-7 Niners,
Well, guess who is dude? What in whoa? Philip Rivers, 9 of 13.
121 yards, man. What's going on, man? What is going on? I don't know. That's a good question. And
Listen, Philip Rivers just needed a week to knock the rust off because he's hasn't hasn't walked into an NFL facility
it's
in
a little more than rust,
like
dude. You need, like, to repolish the entire machine. Maybe you don't.
you need
Maybe
some
you
like
don't.
Billy Mays endorsed infomercial product to knock off whatever grime Philip Rivers had on his joints.
Yeah. So, we have, um, we have some Christmas games to pick. We have 3 games on
Yeah,
Christmas.
NFL is probably really mad about how this played out.
Yeah, no, it turned into
And
stench for sure.
Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving.
Um, we had Lions Packers. We can't
I think the
slander that.
NFL royally screwed
We
up.
had Chiefs Cowboys. Oh, no, we can't. That's unfair. Give them Thanksgiving. It was good. Thanksgiving was fine.
Yeah, well,
Um Give them that. But this one, yeesh. First game up, 1 o'clock. Forgot this was the 1 o'clock game. Thought this was the 4 o'clock game the whole time. The Dallas Cowboys are in Washington to take on the Commanders. Who knows if Mariota's playing or if it's Josh Johnson? I don't
give
know.
Cole's Cowboys, Ernie the Cowboys fan, Road to Six, all these loser Twitter Cowboys guys. Like, this is their Super Bowl because they're going to put up. I'm taking the Cowboys. You want to know why I'm taking the Cowboys, Michael? Because the Commanders are packing it in. Because Dan Quinn, down 2 possessions at midfield, punting with 6 minutes to go, and then having the gall to act like some sort of bouncer at the end of the game, walking on the field when players are shaking hands, being like, "Well, I was just basically saying he was on the field, so if there was another fight, he could
He
go
could
in and
break it up.
he
Yeah.
could break it up." Yeah, he is a
Yeah. I
loser.
mean, he's always been a
He's a
loser.
loser. He should like Kyle Shanahan caught a lot of that flack for blowing that 28-3 lead. Somehow Dan Quinn's like avoided a lot of that criticism, which makes no sense to me
Yeah. Yeah.
because he's
No,
the
for
head
sure.
coach. So
The
he's
defensive
ultimately
head coach that
responsible.
blew the 25-point lead.
Listen,
Like,
listen, Dan Quinn is going to get fired after this year.
I don't think he
And
is.
he's going to go run back to the Cowboys to be their defensive coordinator again.
That's your prediction.
That's my
But I'm with
prediction.
you on taking Dallas. This Washington team is just really a shell. I don't know if it matters. You're either getting like a beaten and battered Marcus Mariota or Josh Johnson, and I don't think those options are that great at quarterback. Maybe whoever the quarterback is just throws some nukes up to Terry, but besides that, I don't view them having a good probability of moving the ball. And Dallas feels like they're just gonna start throwing the ball all over the place on Christmas. The league's telling them, listen, we got to have Dak throwing
Listen,
everything up to
we
CD
need
and
at least
and
5 go
Pickens.
balls to Pickens.
Yeah, and see, yeah.
We need Pickens jumping into the Salvation Army bucket to
Do they
justify
have one
this.
in Washington? This team's not in Dallas.
Oh,
Shocker.
it's in Washington. Oh, you're correct.
Yeah, yeah. But we need a yeah. go balls to those two, make it happen. So give me Dallas with you. Thursday midday,
Fraud Bowl.
the yeah, the Detroit Lions, the team that never loses two in a row, coming off their second straight loss, go to play. Is it nine
The
and the
corpse of Aaron
Minnesota Vikings?
Rodgers and Kenny Gainwell and Jalen Warren snap that
Who's
stupid stat.
who's who's the quarterback for the Vikings this week?
Well, if Nine's hand, by the way, when I refer to him to my friends as Nine, they all giggle.
I mean,
We
listen,
call
man,
him
it's
Nine.
nine.
That's what he
He's
wants
a
to be called. That's what I call him. Nine.
he's a
That's what,
right hand injury, and he did not practice today.
he's not playing. It's going to
So
be Brosmer.
I'm gonna say I'm older than 9. How about that? I'm starting to get to that age, and that's
Wow.
that's
Good for
discouraging.
you.
Yeah. I can't. God. Anyways, it's probably gonna be Brosmer or Brosmer, however you
I mean,
say it.
like,
The Lions have to like kill them this game, right?
I
They already
agree. I'm
lost to the
taking.
Vikings once. I think we forget that. There's no way they're losing to the Vikings twice.
I agree. The Vikings are like.
Season over. This has like Amon-Ra 2 touchdowns and like doing these crazy celebrations written all over it where it's like, all right, dude. Like this is the loser bowl and the loser look good bowl for the Lions because Dan Campbell in the spirit of the game is gonna fight till the very end.
I mean, I
So
mean, I
give
mean,
me Detroit
I
minus
mean. Do you
6.
think Brian Flores is going to cook up like all these radical schemes? I mean, to like make Jared Goff look stupid and they can't run the ball again. I mean, I don't know. Probably not.
I I don't think the Vikings have anything on offense
I
to
have
keep
this
up.
feeling that Kevin O'Connell,
Go
like,
ahead, take the Vikings.
no, no, behind the scenes, he's kind of an a hole, and I think he's rubbing some of his players the wrong way. Like
This feels
his
speculatory,
love
but
of Nine would annoy me if I was a Vikings
well,
player. His
yeah,
obsession with Nine, I'd be like,
sure.
thanks. This is why I'm not going to play off football this year. I'm taking the Lions. This reeks of Dan Campbell gonna run the score up. Oh my God! Look at the point differential the Lions have this year.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So Christmas night,
yeah.
tucking us in,
Oh boy,
the Denver Broncos are
man!
laying
When is the last time the
12
Denver
and a half.
Broncos laid 12 and a half points to the Kansas City
I mean,
Chiefs
when was the last time the Chiefs have been double-digit underdogs at home in Arrowhead
in a
as
game they're not resting starters?
the finalized deal to send the Chiefs out of Missouri to Kansas against all fans' wishes and in
Oh
the
yeah,
hands of billionaire greed? What are the Chiefs gonna do with Olodokun? Is that how you say it? What? How do you
Ludicon.
Oludokun? What are they gonna do minus 12 and a half point underdogs? You know what I want to do.
Michael the Broncos coming off a loss. Do you ever see an animal with like rabies, like frothing at the mouth,
I've never seen it in person, thankfully.
like on a nature show?
Yeah, sure,
That's Sean
sure.
Payton with this game. You know for a
You talk
fact
about a
he would
sore runner-upper.
love to hang 50 on the Chiefs, rub it in Andy Reid's
Andy
face
Reid's face. Yeah, yeah.
because well, you know how much of an a hole Sean Payton is talking about the
Yo, I
Jags.
know, man. Yeah, he did talk about the Jags like they were like a scrappy bunch. When it's like, all right, man.
I have the line set at minus 150. He mouths something off to Travis Kelsey as he walks off the field to just, be like, I'm going to, oh, like, hey, like, say, it's like, am I invited to the wedding or something like that? To
So
just kick up, basically, Sean Payne is known for, if he has a chance to kick someone while they're down, he will curb stomp you. Like, he will take full
so
advantage.
you're taking the Broncos here.
I am taking You know what's crazy? I'm taking 3 road teams, but like honestly,
Dude, I'm looking at
you want to take the Chiefs so bad. You want to take them so bad because you hate Bo Nix and you think he's
uh,
going to throw like 5 picks and this is going to be
uh,
like 10-7 like Denver.
I picked the Titans against Kansas City,
They won
and I was
11
all
games
over
in a
that.
row. Denver is due to lose a game.
I wish
Sucks,
I
sucks that
wish
it was that
Minshew
game
was
and
even
not like,
playing, dude. If Minshew was playing,
yeah,
I'd
well, he's
feel
not playing.
I know he's
He's on his
not.
stupid bus that he rides to everywhere. He's
He
living
is a
on his.
loser too.
He is a
Minshew.
loser, isn't he?
Yeah, he wanted to take Jalen's job. Get the fuck out of here, dude. Are you kidding me?
Shout out to Sirianni
Um,
for laughing at him and telling him, no, and get the hell out of
that's
my
our
office.
quarterback, buddy.
Get the hell out of my
And
office.
guess where you're going next year? Get the hell off this team. Just taking all three favorites and just going with it. Is that really what we're doing?
I
Probably, man. You know what? I'm rooting against the NFL. I'm rooting for 3 slop bowls, 3 ugly games, 3 games that people turn off before the first half is over. That's what I'm rooting for. So, Broncos minus 12.5 it is. Give me Denver right there with you. 3 road teams, 3 big favorites, 3 teams that cities start with a D. How about that, John? What a weird Christmas coincidence this is turning out to be.
14-14 Colts, by the way.
Yeah, Philip is cooking right now.
This
So,
feels like the year of ancient washed up QBs having like the one game where you're like, man, like I'm playing Xbox 360, drinking some Mountain Dew Code Red, watching Philip Rivers dice up,
code red 40.
dicing up. You know, I agree. Like, dude, I just think that.
You know, Donovan could be less of it. But anyways,
Wait,
sorry.
what?
Hey, Donovan McNabb's just like on the Eagles offense. Don't expect fireworks. You know, this team's built to lean on the defense and take advantage of short field position to keep winning games. It's like, okay, Donovan, I get it. But you can be a little more supportive. You don't have to be salty like everyone else.
Was you know what's bizarre is like of all like the former Eagles QBs that were supportive of Jalen, he was like the least supportive. Like Michael Vick, Randall
Vic's
Cunningham,
a big supporter. Randall's a huge supporter. And Carson, while I think has a lot of internal issues with how things ended here, I
Nick's
think
a huge supporter.
is a respecter of Jalen. I think Nick or I think Carson can respect.
I
But
think
yeah,
Donovan's.
Donovan.
I think Donovan's frustrated that Jalen's first 5 years and Donovan's first 5 years are very similar in terms of wins and losses, with the exception of one guy has a Super Bowl ring and the other guy doesn't.
Well, uh, we don't need to dig into the bag of Eagles lore.
And I like Donovan. I don't dislike Donovan.
I know we are
I'm just
Donovan.
saying, like, I mean,
I wish I saw more of Donovan's prime as
if
a
you watch,
person.
like, dude, go fire up,
I
like,
caught his late prime. You
dude,
know
go
that
fire up,
'08
like,
on.
Eagles Packers in 2004, where he's throwing, like, straight up laser beams at,
Yeah,
like,
it's a effing Scrubs and
to
T.O.
like
Like, it's
to
just
like To and Bum, like basically like
man,
To and
Inky
Bums
and
throwing
yeah,
like
yeah,
Greg Lewis, like he's throwing like it's very Josh Allen-ish. Like he just throws like rockets
yeah.
at guys.
But anyways, that is our show, ladies and gentlemen. We will catch you this weekend to discuss the events of tonight and of Christmas and pick a handful more games. We'll see if anything else of note happens worth talking about. But thank you and enjoy the holiday season.
You too. Shout out to Ethan. Happy birthday.
Happy early birthday, Ethan.
We are part of the Fired Up Sports Network of shows. Please check out other Fired Up Sports Network podcasts like the P-Lot Pod, Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Philly Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on firedupsports.com, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.